So the main mindsets, if we had to come up with a set of mindsets that are kind of our four main mindsets that we want to make sure that we're bringing to the participatory design process, these are four that we'd like to highlight and have in mind. So first and foremost, especially since the type of design we're doing is in context of poverty and international context, we always want to make sure that we're coming to the table with a level of respect. Respect includes a variety of different attitudes and mindsets. So first and foremost, humility. Some of us are coming as outsiders and may not know it all or have the answer, and that's okay, being humble about that. Being empathetic, being sensitive to a person's background or context or needs, and not just of the person within the community, but maybe somebody else on your team who may be going through something challenging as well. Putting on a beginner's mindset and letting go of any assumptions that we may have had from before. And it's really hard, but letting go sometimes even of the experiences we've had to start again from the beginning and try to relearn things from the beginning. Inclusivity falls into respect as well. So making sure that we're including all voices. We'll touch on this again a little bit later. And a part of that inclusivity is really respecting the fact that education does not equal intelligence. For us, this is really important. For some people who may not have a formal education, but have just as much intelligence, and both are equally valuable. Being flexible. So being flexible to people's work schedules, time schedules, being flexible to the infrastructure or time culture of a particular context is really important. And also being frugal, being mindful and respectful of the money and time that we're using from someone else, and trying to do it with as less as possible and getting the best effect out of that. And last but not least, tied to that is waste not, want not. So not only respecting others people's time and money and people, but also respecting our planet and environment, recognizing that anything that comes out of a product as waste can actually be an input for another product. And so we want to be mindful of what we're contributing to the environment as well. Our second mindset we like to make sure that we put on is optimism. We are not a group of people who believe the world is doomed. We are a group of people who do believe that together we can co-create a better world at the end of the day, little by little. And so when we talk about optimism, very practically, that's putting on an open mind, being open to different ideas, even if it sounds crazy or wild, creating that safe space where everyone feels open to share any type of idea. Having a sense of play and making sure that play is prioritized is a great way to connect with each other, a great way to tease out even more ideas, but just in general, because play is fun. And then also having an abundance mindset. So sometimes we can look at the resources that we don't have instead of being mindful of the resources we do have and what are the things we do have and how we can use those. So optimism is another big mindset we want to be putting on for participatory design. The third is curiosity. So we like to approach the design process and with a certain sense of curiosity. So this again touches a bit on having an open mind, and being open to anything, and also coming with a certain sense of inquisitiveness. And it also touches a bit again on our beginner's mindset. So letting go of some of our assumptions and really questioning why something is the way it is and could it be a different way, and creating that space where somebody could be curious. And then taking risks. So taking risks in terms of presenting new ideas. Could this work? I don't know. Let's try it. So really trying it or prototyping an idea. Being mindful too that when you prototype something, it's a good way to test and try something before the actual solution. So you're actually saving resources at the same time. So being curious is a really important part of a way to approach the design process as well. And then fourth, lastly, we have inclusive collaboration, which is a huge one for us in participatory design. As oftentimes different voices get left out of the design table, we want to make sure as much as possible we're including everyone's voice. So always valuing the process over the product, and making sure that we're taking time to include people. And inclusivity for us looks again at all those different layers of diversity that we talked about. So not only gender or race, but levels of education, and making sure that education does not equal intelligence. So you see this repeated again. And making sure that we're taking all the right steps necessary to make sure those voices are included. So if we want to make sure farmers are present at the table, making sure that they have the appropriate per diem so that they can be present and leave the time at their farm, or making sure that if we want a mother's voice included, that perhaps we provide the childcare so that that can happen. But always thinking, what can we do to make our collaboration as inclusive as possible, and also begin to level the playing field of those hierarchies as well. And then lastly, again, teasing out the idea of flexibility. Doing inclusive collaboration requires an attitude of flexibility, that sometimes it might be challenging. So to be patient with that. Or sometimes it might require being flexible to someone else's schedule. And so being mindful of that as well. All four of these are mindsets that we want to put on. If you imagine like a different type of hat you put on as you approach the design process.